Filler is the enemy of fun in a game. Some games that could be amazing are just bogged down with useless crap. I mean, when a game has a good runtime and is just non-stop great from start to finish, there may be nothing better than that. Some people call these types of games steak, like rare steak. There's no gristle, no filler. Hi folks, it's Mac, and today on this video we're going to talk about 15 of the games that we think are like that. Starting off with number 15, it's Inside. Playdead specializes in moody, slow burn, narrative-driven puzzle platformers, so their games aren't going to be for everybody, but they are highly acclaimed for a reason. Playing through Limbo or Inside is pure, undistilled gameplay bliss. Creepy, smart, and incredibly short. Some people criticize some of these games for being glorified demos, but they're missing the point. They're not demos, they're just all wheat and no chaff. They're games completely stripped of filler, where every scene moves the story forward and never feels like it's dragging. They're some of the purest games in the world in that sense. There's nothing here but essentials. The thing is, though, that Limbo does have a little bit of filler, mostly early on. There's a ton of nothing going on at the start before you get to the more creative or direct puzzle stuff. Inside, though, feels like it is a more pure game. There's no just walking around segments. You're constantly doing something that is interesting or progresses the story, and the story is strange in a good way. You're always doing something meaningful, whether it's solving puzzles or escaping somebody trying to kill you or whatever. Things are happening, and the strange world seems to get more bizarre as the game goes on until you reach the insane and surreal final sequence of the game. It's meant to be played in one sitting, and there's zero wasted time.
Tactical option. Run them over.
Next, over at number 14, we have the amazingly good campaign of Titanfall 2. Some people may not have played this game's incredible campaign, and yes, I'm calling it incredible, but chances are most people watching this have heard about Titanfall 2's reputation. It's a tight, explosive first-person shooter campaign, and there's zero fat on this thing. It's essentially the modern-day Half-Life, and I mean that in the best possible way. It's not overly long, it can be beaten in like 4 hours or less, but every one of those hours is an absolute banger. It's one of the best-paced shooter stories ever. Every level, seemingly every 15 minutes or so, the game is throwing a completely new idea at you, and they only last maybe one level. Ideas that other games would stretch out into their own game are just stuff you get one stage of in Titanfall 2. If anything, there's almost too much good stuff in this one. Some of the better levels probably could have been fleshed out into their own campaigns, but really, who am I to say? I respect the commitment to fun here. It's another one-sitting game, and Respawn made a good job of it, even if it didn't really set the world on fire when it dropped. Next, over at number 13, we have Little Nightmares. I don't know what it is about horror games, but they have a real tendency to sometimes just overstay their welcome. Like most of the Resident Evils, while classics either feel like they have one too many climaxes or go on for too dang long, a good horror game leaves you wanting more, but most developers can't help themselves. They keep trying to squeeze that last drop of blood out of the rock. Not Little Nightmares, though. Yeah, if you don't know, it's a strange, creepy little puzzle platformer. It's very short, like 2 or 3 hours short, and it is the perfect length for this style of game. Something like that spin-off Scarlet Hollow overstayed its welcome despite being shorter. Little Nightmares is just one of those simple, perfect experiences that just draws you in and doesn't let go until it ends. Playing it in a dark room soaked in the oppressive atmosphere, it feels longer than it actually is, for sure. You know, the feeling sticks with you, but the gameplay is actually brisk. You're constantly doing something, even if it is just wandering down a hallway slowly. It's just one of those games where the length is just right. An hour less, and it'd feel too short. An hour more, and they'd have to stretch the gameplay or something. So good on the developers for not getting too ambitious, at least right out the gate. Coming in next at number 12, we have the Pathless. If you're a regular viewer of this channel, you probably heard us talk about this game once or twice at least, because for a pretty obscure game, and we like it. It's one of our go-to examples for open world games done right. There's no map litter, there's no pressure to do all of the arbitrary side missions. None of that here, it's just you, your bow, your eagle, and that really good and slick feeling movement system, and you're thrown into an island that doesn't clutter your screen up with stuff, and you're just meant to explore and figure it all out on your own. The way you learn to navigate this world is actually pretty genius. At first, the island seems massive and daunting, but as you earn more flaps in your wings, gain more confidence and speed, and learn how to interpret the land, the journey becomes a lot easier. And it's a great example of a game where you actually feel like you can grow as a player. As things progress, the challenge is extremely light, maybe a little too light, and the entire game is pretty short. It's a 4 or 5 hour game, so the developers managed to distill the open world experience into a single session. If the game's longer, they probably couldn't stretch things out, maybe add more mechanics and more ideas and still make it work, but for us, the Pathless gets things just right. Next on the list at number 11, we have Katana Zero. If you like Hotline Miami and want it injected into a time-manipulating side-scroller form, you cannot go wrong here. All of your movement and attacks have to be perfectly planned because you can go down in a single hit, but you can always retry instantly. It makes for a fast and stylish game where every level feels tight and intense, other than the silly time-wasting elevator dialogue sequences, which is nothing but downtime, but let's be real, this is an example of a game without bloat. A simple yet effective story, levels that all have something interesting going on, and not too much of one thing before you move on to something else. This thing is short, like really short, but the gameplay is so fun, all of your abilities are so satisfying to pull off, and the action is so fast and hard that it really doesn't need to be longer than that. It's another tight game. They just threw more levels in here, it just wouldn't feel the same. Also, if the gameplay doesn't look ammo to you, then don't bother playing it because it's all this. You either enjoy it or you don't. There's not going to be a lot of light moments with this sad boy-looking ninja here behind closed doors. I mean, maybe a little bit, but yeah, the game just doesn't stop. Next, over at number 10, we have Sayonara Wild Hearts. Despite its odd name, this is not a visual novel. It's basically a rhythm game, but one with this very creative camera where you're moving just all over the place and constantly changing perspectives, and this killer soundtrack. The developers at Simogo called it a pop album video game, and that's kind of what it is. Track after track, these short, exciting experiences that last for maybe a minute or two but leave you wanting a hell of a lot more, they don't overstay their welcome, and they're all just pure style backed by some very simple and mostly forgiving gameplay. Is it shallow? Yeah, but that's not really the point. The thing with rhythm games is that they can always lean back on that rhythm game experience, and Sayonara Wild Hearts is very short, like an hour or two at best, but it makes the most of every minute with constantly changing gameplay and killer music. Like by the time the game is over, it leaves you wanting more, which for this kind of thing is probably the right call. I mean, who knows, the game could have gone on for 4 hours and kept it interesting, or it could have crashed and burned. They just decided they were going to leave you wanting more. As it is, it's just someone who made a bunch of cool tracks in a game and didn't bother making a full album. Instead, they released this short and sweet EP of a game, and that's what you get. Next on the list, we have Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. It's like a co-op adventure game, but you control both characters and play through what feels maybe like an hour or two of an Ico-style adventure. While the game itself is pretty light, mostly just walking around, and there's some very simple puzzle solving here and there, it stands out because you actually control both brothers with one controller. And that means one stick is for one brother and one stick is for the other, and every button push too. It sounds like it would be really confusing, and it kind of is, but it works for the way this game plays. It's not super demanding on the controls, and the times they do throw a few tests your way with them mostly exist to help underline the simple story about all the loss and brotherly love as you journey to get medicine for your sick father. The thing with Brothers is that all the mechanics tie back into the story. It's short, like really short, but there's no filler here, and everything that's here is here for a reason. It's got a great story, super emotional, probably a tearjerker for some folks, and it's not slowed down by any speed bumps or distractions. It's only a 2 to 3 hour game if that, but Brothers doesn't waste a lot of time beating around the bush. I like when games don't. At number 8, we have Stray. Some of these titles, gameplay-wise, may not be for everybody here, but what makes Stray stand out is its sense of place, its atmosphere, and of course, the fact that you play as a cat and you're in a cyber city. Like, the game's not a platformer. It has extremely limited movement. Everything's basically a walk or move, but nothing here is really challenging and nothing here is dragged out. It's another experience where you're never really standing still. There's no side stuff with this one, though. There are some collectibles, but they're not there for the sake of having collectibles. You go from A to B as things escalate. Stray, for me, is the platonic ideal of a 6. It does exactly what it wants to do without padding anything out. For me, it doesn't end strongly, but there are other parts of it that are just perfect. It's another play-in-one sitting kind of game, and after it ends, it's just done. It's a breeze to play through and a perfect game for this list. If they ever made a sequel, maybe they'd have wrench-throwing mechanics or expand the world somehow, but for what this experience is, you just wake up and it's 2 years later and you're reminiscing about how you played Stray. Next, over at number 7, we have Trek to Yomi. While Sifu may be the more complex game between these two, Trek to Yomi feels like a more pure experience. Some people call it a side-scrolling Sekiro or a cinematic masterpiece, and I can see where they're coming from. In the presentation department, the game is beautiful. You know, the moody black and white visuals and extremely cinematic framing and camera angles give this game a real style, and mostly, I want to stress mostly, the awesome presentation matches the gameplay. For this to be a black and white samurai film, it'd be either the shortest film ever or one of those samurai flicks where all the action happens in the last 20 minutes, because this game can be beaten in around 3 hours, sometimes less. It's short, it's linear, and it has no extraneous bells and whistles. It's mainly just going around hacking stuff up with a sword with some light exploration and even lighter puzzle solving to break up the action. Trek to Yomi may mostly be style over substance, but when you look that good as a game, it's also hard to argue with the results. It wasn't necessarily a complete home run smash game for me, a solid hit for sure, but man alive, the presentation, the execution, the way your character feels, there's a lot of good stuff here, and it's pretty compact and straightforward. Next, over number 6, we have Gris. Even amongst art games, this one really stands out. It looks awesome, like top 5 games you'd immediately show to your mom. It's incredibly short, only maybe lasts about 3 hours, but it's probably one of the most artistically accomplished games you could play, even if it's not particularly fun in some places. I don't even know how to explain the gameplay. There's a little bit of puzzle stuff, some basic platforming, but even here I don't really know. I don't know what else to say. Where the game really shines is in how it looks. There are very few games that are this dynamic and expressive just in terms of art style. It is constantly changing. Every other game on this list that we've covered so far sticks to a single style or maybe changes things up from level to level. But Gris is like one scene to scene, it just keeps things going. It's maybe not the deepest game in the world, but like I said, what it lacks in meaningful gameplay, it makes up for by being gorgeous and packed with metaphorical and symbolic stuff, whatever your teacher told you in class about looking a lot into things, but it's one of those kinds of games. I mean, they put that blown up Colossus in Tears of the Kingdom, that just shows like the impact that this strange little short game had. For a game that's only about an hour or 2 long at best, it's impressive how it feels like every second is just designed from the ground up to pop visually and mechanically, and just nothing feels wasted here.
So much lead was whizzing by my head, it was like everyone in Lincoln wanted to put me in the ground.
Next, over at number 5, we have Call of Juarez Gunslinger. You know, this one almost feels like it was designed to be one of those timed shooting gallery games that you play at an amusement park in Disney World or something. It's an even more bare-bones FPS. It makes me wish we had more games like this, though. It's a first-person shooter that's nothing more than a shooting gallery. I mean, there are a lot of FPS campaigns that fall into that category technically, but nothing goes so all in on the pure arcade-oriented nature like Gunslinger. There's only one thing to do in this game: shoot enemies to get points, to unlock perks, to shoot more enemies and get more perks and blow up more points, keep going. Story-wise, the game is just some random cowboy bullshitting his way through a fictional version of American history. You play as Silas Greaves, a bounty hunter. You're killing a whole bunch of iconic outlaws and changing the story like he's making it up as you play. The levels are like a joyous reminder that sometimes story doesn't really matter all that much in these games, does it? The same can be said about the length, 5 or 6 hours of just pure FPS fun. It doesn't overstay its welcome or anything, it just keeps shooting until the shooting stops. Down at number 4, we have Abzu. If you like your games short and chill, you can't go any more chill than this one. It's the perfect kind of game to play when you just want to de-stress and enjoy a feast for your senses. Just another short 3-hour game without any bloat. Just beautiful underwater environments, some light interaction, and yep, that's the game the whole time. It won't be for everybody, but if you're looking for an experience rather than a game, you're probably gonna like it already. It's hard to call something like Abzu a game necessarily because there's not really much gameplay, there's no fail state, it's not really a walking simulator because those are all technically about their stories. Abzu is technically about whatever you want it to be about, but if you're used to searching every nook and cranny and collecting every collectibles, the only thing happening here is interaction. You can go through this game pretty quick. The developers probably could have thrown a bunch of hidden mysteries and stuff to slow the player down to pad out the runtime, but instead they kept things moving along, so a lot more players actually get to experience it all the way through and really appreciate what these developers achieved. I mean, Journey, same developers, this is like the water version. Next, over at number 3, we have Doom Eternal. Now, Doom Eternal is not a short game, at least compared to some of the other games that we've mentioned, but it's still a game that is absolute pure gameplay bliss from start to finish. The second it starts, the heavy metal kicks in and the game keeps on going until the credits roll, but it's not all the same thing. Intervals and interactions are constantly changing, so no 2 areas, no 2 battles, no 2 fights feel the same, but the gameplay is always engaging or as engaging as you choose. This game can be really hard, and it keeps going. It's a game where, yeah, you're killing demons and stuff constantly for like 10 hours or so, but it doesn't feel repetitive or exhausting by the end of it. You're always being challenged in new ways, getting new weapons, having to deal with new enemies and the good music. Doom Eternal is one of those rare FPS campaigns that prioritizes fun above everything else, and it's a blast for every second it lasts. It makes you feel something. It makes you want to run around and scream and punch things and maybe smash a beer can on your forehead. Anyway, Doom Eternal, it is really a good game. The engine also feels like it cranks up to a damn 11, and any other empty space is filled up with platforming, traversal challenges, or exploration. There's only things to do in Doom Eternal. No talk, no NPCs, no friends, only go. It's all demons and chainsawing faces off and glory killing until the end. Now we're down at number 2 and we have Furi. It's the total opposite of Abzu. Instead of being chill, it's all intensity all the time. By stripping down the game to a pretty straightforward story and only boss fights, that's actually it. The world you travel through is just there for atmospheric storytelling and maybe a little bit of walking, but when it comes to the game part of this game, it's all bosses all the time, and these bosses are nuts. The camera even throws you through a loop with it. Sometimes it plays like a shoot 'em up or a fighting game or something in between. There's no 2 boss fights that are the same, and they're all challenging and intense as hell. And it's another short game, probably around 5 to 6 hours to play through, probably if you're good. I'm sure some people spent hours and hours on one boss, but you can beat it potentially fast. It just depends. It's extremely short for something that only consists of boss fights, but there's enough there. Plus, it's not like all these bosses are short, one and done things. There's a lot going on with a lot of changes, mechanics. It is a big game, so there's a lot to learn. How Furi handles its short runtime is somewhat divisive. Some people feel like all the walking in between is just that, walking to pad out the runtime, but to me, it does a lot to help pace the experience out and give you maybe a little bit of time to breathe. The boss rush mode is there for people who want all killers, no filler. It is pure distilled gameplay goodness, essentially. And for a game of all cater, no snare, Furi remains a straightforward game with 0 fillers. Now, we're down at number 1, and come on, what else could it be? Shadow of the Colossus. If you're gonna point to a game that's like the ultimate of no filler, outcome slasher style boss game aside, this is it. I mean, the game is literally just a collection of gigantic bosses to fight. You go from point A to point B, and your empty horse journeys are broken up with some of the most unforgettable and artful boss fights in video game history. No other game does what Shadow of the Colossus does. Any other game would have made you go through armies of smaller goons before you got to the good parts, because they're the only games that feel like they're important enough to need armies to destroy, but not Shadow of the Colossus. It gives you big, open, empty fields that you can explore as much or as little as you want between fights, but the main course meal, the only meal really, are the boss fights. And unlike something similar like Furi, there's no health bar here. There's no spell list. It's just you, a small man with a sword, and a giant stone monster to climb and kill. Yeah, if you don't know, you climb and take down these massive beasts and figure out how to do it at the same time. The bosses are incredible, the music is stunning, the world is haunting, and the story, or what little there is of it, manages to be surprisingly impactful as well. It is a game with 100% pure, undiluted content. No one before or after has really managed to make a game like it. I don't know, maybe I'm missing something here, so feel free to leave a comment below. Anyway, that's all for today's video, and as always, thank you for watching this video, and hey, if you're not subscribed yet, now is the best time to do so.